in the tech world, and of course of young people and job creation and economic development. And so today we're going to be talking to him about some of the areas of his work, leadership, things we're just going to be gleaning from him because of his vast experience, as we all can see. If you want to know more about him, of course, you can check out his bio online. And he's the author of a book, In Pursuit, Journeys in African Entrepreneurship, which I've seen the reviews that is very funny but fun book that speaks about what we really want to know about entrepreneurship in Nigeria. So I'm just going to go without much ado. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I think for starters, I would like to congratulate you on the passing of the Nigeria Startup Bill. Congratulations on that. I know that must have been a big feat.
Well, that's more congratulations to the ecosystem. It's really for them, and hoping they understand that and take advantage of it.
Yes. Okay, so I mean, you're absolutely right. I think that one of the key things is really understanding this bill, and I'm just going to go ahead and ask you some questions around that, which can help our community and of course the people. I think I'm not in the tech world. I'm in oil and gas, so this is it's very exciting for me when I hear about tech. I want to know more about it. So I sat down and I looked through that bill a little bit. But there are just some things that I wanted to understand. I know some people want to know here. So first of all, when you're talking about startups, I always, it seems to focus, of course, on technology and all of that, tech-based companies. So does this bill really just cover tech-based startups, or does it expand beyond that?
So this is a question we got a lot in the beginning as well, because a lot of people were more so, as they joined onto the initiative and soon realized that the focus was tech-enabled, the outcry was like, what about us? So there's two things that drives this. One, we wanted to focus on an area that we believed was achievable. If you look at the way that the Nigerian government is structured, if you do want to do a bill, and like you use startup basically more generally than is used in globally, when you say startup, you tend to think tech-enabled companies generally. But if you just say any SME, you will find that there are other legislature already in place to support SMEs in general and small businesses in general. And the question now, is it being executed or is it being used? So the focus was really to drive an area that we believed was, if you look at the reports that's coming in from the Bureau of Statistics, you see that the technology contribution to the economy, is growing on itself every year, right? So it's really to create an enabling environment for a sector that globally is driving global economies, and we believe can drive, the economy in Nigeria and Africa. So we tended to focus it on tech-enabled companies as a starting point. And even since then, the process the bill was developed, and the progress the bill has attained has already had other people creating other bills. So, for instance, there's a creative impact bill which is being discussed right now and being worked on from some members of the Nigeria Startup Bill team.
Right. Okay. So that obviously the creative impact bill is something, because obviously in the tech world there's a lot of creativity and all of that. So I can just see that that's probably to protect creativity in that. Is that what that will be looking at?
Not at all. That bill right. is for the arts, the culture, and right. for the movie industry and music. So basically what I was saying is that you have to take it piece by piece. So right. you cannot create a bill. So I think I started off early and I kind of jumped off of it. The way the government of Nigeria is structured, it's very difficult to create one bill that is going to actually achieve
that is all
what
encompassing.
Exactly, because you have to think about it now. You're dealing with one or two ministries. If you now say you want to do a bill for every single business that starts, just by the English word starting as in a new business, then you'll be dealing with something that's going to interact with almost every single ministry in the country. So it was key for us to focus. But that aside, just that structure aside, you will make very bold statement as a technologist that one of the fastest growing aspects of any economy globally is the tech-enabled businesses, and we also would say that going down the future, you will also want to assert that that almost every business will have a tech-enabled component to it down the road.
True. Okay, so I mean, I'd read somewhere that you had mentioned that the implementation of this bill will be based on state adoption of the bill, that it would require that the government continue to engage and collaborate for the proper execution. So I mean, I just wanted to understand, how do you think this would play out? So for instance, the Lagos state has already jumped on it and started to try to make use of the bill and adopt it and all of that. Is it going to be a state by state adoption? And would it lead to, because one of the concerns, when you talk about SMEs, you have conversations about double taxing when the state is looking at it, the federal level is being looked at on the federal level. How is this going to manage that kind of situation?
Okay, so this is a fantastic question, by the way. So the post activities after the bills goes into law is one, implementation on the federal level. And when we say implementation, we actually mean the implementation with agencies and in ministries that are actually called up in the bill. So if we say CAC is going to plug into this portal system, then we need to actually do that. In fact, forget that. We actually need to build the portal system. The bill talks about a council. We need to build a council. This is a federal council chaired by the president and the vice president to bring focus and collaboration on the Nigerian tech ecosystem, right, the entire country. Now, when you take it to the state level, we operate in a federation. A lot of the things that affect startups actually a lot of times happen at the state level, right? So certain rules that cannot be interfered with from the federal level can actually affect a business in Lagos or Edo State or Ogun State. Yeah. And that's one part. So that's looking in from the negative perspective. So we want to fix potential rules that may affect the business at the very state level. But also think from this perspective, you also want to create an opportunity for you to build a business in the state that is designed for your business. So right now, what you have now is that almost every single business goes to Lagos because it seems that's where the customers are, and that's where most of the technology is, and that's where you want to. I'm in Lagos building my business, right? Meanwhile, your business is supposed to be in Kaduna or Sokoto, right? Because that's who your market really is. You're trying to push a solution that really works in Anambra, but you have moved yourself to Lagos because you want to be around where the resources are. You will find it when you create a state adoption by state, each state would design its own programs, right? They would design, like Lagos has a different approach. So we started this conversation already. So Lagos has already started, Kaduna has started, Anambra is in discussion, Edo State is in discussion, Ekiti is in discussion, Yobe is in discussion, which is very exciting to me. And Kwara just started conversation just this week. You will find that from my being in the center and discussing with all these states, you will find that each state is approaching the idea of startups differently. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So their strategy may be, we're going to give you housing and we're going to give you some money and then no taxation. The other state may come up and go, we don't know if we're going to give you housing, but we're going to give you a fantastic hub to work out of, and then just a little taxation. Every state will have their own mix that will make a state attractive to you. So tomorrow, when you want to do your startup, you will sit down as a startup founder and go, I'm from Kaduna, but I grew up in Ekiti. That's where I want to do my startup. And interestingly enough, the Ekiti startup bill, startup environment, the way the laws work there, works with my idea. It gives my idea. Yeah. Yes, it gives my idea a bit of a oomph, as opposed to if I did it in Lagos, because that one law in Lagos and that environment in Lagos does not really work with this idea. For this idea, so you're going to have a competitive landscape where states are going to start jostling and fighting for your business, right? Or for your founding to come to your state. When you look at it, one thing I say a lot of times when people talk about why do we need laws, why are we getting government involved, I giggle internally because I don't want to seem rude. But the fact is that we're being very obtuse to what America has done, right? Why do people register their companies in Delaware? Why not New York City? Because
Yeah.
Delaware has a set of laws that
It
allows
suits their
for
business.
exactly that suits for business. Almost every company in America is either registered in Utah or Delaware, because those two states have set up their laws to allow companies to set up businesses, and the structure works for them. That's what Delaware did. Why is Silicon Valley where startups go? Because Stanford is there. The Silicon people created some rules that allow businesses. Mark Zuckerberg started in Harvard. He moved his business to where? Silicon Valley.
Silicon
Why is
Valley.
Miami? Why is Miami now struggling with Silicon Valley for startups? They've changed laws.
Right.
Laws is what creates the ground. So we tend to just ignore that and say, oh, we don't want, interference. You have to have laws, and then after you have laws, you have a collaboration and engagement to ensure the laws do what they're supposed to do, right?
Right.
What we
Right.
what we tend to want in Nigeria is that we already have the Wild Wild West, and we want to remain Wild Wild West because it allows us to do
Because
whatever
it
we want.
works for some people, they're able to maneuver
Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah. Absolutely. In fact, I think you've probably answered my next question, because I was going to say, startups, a lot of tech startups, they're just, they usually face the issue of governance. You find that, they just start their business with the brilliant idea. And, I know that even in the US, you've had companies that have had issues like this because, they didn't sit down to really understand the laws that govern, or that limit, they restrict their business or whatever it is. So I was going to ask if this bill was all encompassing. Is it like a one-stop shop, kind of bill that covers all those, policies and laws that govern startups? But you've also kind of mentioned that each state has to adopt. But I mean, is it really a wholesome, bill that covers all of the areas?
So yes, I would say yes. Not because I'm one of the drafters of it, but I would say that what we've done is that we've done a lot of seed planting, right? The Nigerian Startup Bill is just one piece of many things we must do to ensure the ecosystem is healthy, right? In the bill itself, maybe I'll break into 4 or 5 areas. Let's see what pops up. The fundamental backbone of the bill is collaboration and engagement. And then we go into a support, and we go into incentives in the bill. So for collaboration and support, a collaboration and engagement perspective, we have the idea of a council. Now, the council is made up of public sector people and private sector people, which is not exactly balanced, but it's almost balanced now with the later editions of the bill. In the end of the day, we have to understand the policymakers are part of the ecosystem. Having been, involved in starting a company in Nigeria myself, when I say ecosystem, I just think those of us who start businesses, right? Those of us who we feel are value added. But the truth of the matter is the ecosystem is made up of 2 parts: the policymakers and the actual practitioners, which are the founders. And these 2 people need to engage and collaborate for it to be a healthy ecosystem. In any instance, when there's no collaboration and engagement, that's when you get every single announcement you've ever heard of in Nigeria. I've looked at every single announcement that we've made that everybody is throwing their hands in the air and go, oh my God, they're trying to kill our business. And when you really look at it, you will find that there's a lack of engagement, a lack of collaboration, a lack
Yes.
of understanding,
Yes.
right? Is primarily based on ignorance. Now, there's an example I always give in this type of talks where I say, startups tend to want to disrupt. There are a lot of startups. I mean, sometimes startups are not disrupting, they're just replacing, they're replacing. So they tend to want to disrupt. But what you don't understand, having sat in a policymaker going almost 2 years now, is that some of these things we call disruptions are actually displacements to a policymaker. What you see is that something has been displaced, right? So you call yourself disrupting, but the policymaker sees displacement. So you are doing crypto, people are sending FX through crypto. Guess what? Remittances has gone down. CBN, the regulator, is like, wait a minute, why is my remittances down? Somebody comes to the office and go, well, it's because the crypto guys are sending money via back channel, and you are
so
not
they need
seeing
to
it.
find a way to fix it and make sure things are balanced, on all sides. Yeah.
So if you're the regulator, what do? Right? So you see those instances in a number of situations, and you yourself actually said it earlier that sometimes we do startups and we don't exactly know what the rules are. We may not even care what the rules are because we're doing something great and exciting. So these are the things that we need to fix. So a number of ways we've tried to do this is, one is the council, which gives you a sense of collaboration and a sense of recourse. So things that you hear, new policy will not happen without going through this council, right? You have a portal, an engagement portal, where a support portal where you are now matching, you have labeled all your startups in the country that have applied, and you are now matching them to all the agencies that they may need services from. They are service providers. At the end of the day, agencies should be service providers, and they will provide services via this portal. Even third parties may come in through this portal to address, to give grants and things like that. So most of the services that we provided to you on this bill will be done through the portal. You're up for seed funding and you apply for the seed funding from the NSIA. You would do it through this portal. So that's sort of the collaboration engagement. And there's a consultative body that's attached to the portal, which from members that would sit on the council will be selected from. And it should be a diversified membership, which you have funders, founders, some of the support agencies like Nigerian Computer Society will sit on the council.
Right.
Then you have tax incentives, right? There's a few of them. They've changed from what was in the public view. Some of it has changed a bit, but generally it's to give, to relieve the pressure of taxation from our startups, and also incentivize local investment. Because if you look at the current situation, it's almost like local money is punished, international money isn't. So we're trying to address some of those things by giving some tax incentives to investors locally, to angel investors locally. And then we have some more support around how we support free trade zones for technology, hubs, and a number of different things that help enable the environment. So the bill generally does a collaborative engagement, support, and incentives across the document.
Okay, I think you've really just spoken to, one of the things that I really was going to talk about was that balance, in that council, and ensuring that, there's enough representation for, the private sector, whereby they're really speaking for themselves. I mean, I think this might be one of the issues in some other areas of business in the country, like you've mentioned. But, I mean, this bill has the secretariat as the NIITDA, and which is a government agency and all of that. So, I mean, how do you think, managing bottlenecks with regards to, because startups are very flexible, they need approvals, prompt and all of those things. Do you think this agency is going to be able to really manage and promote that flexibility? Because by the time they start getting frustrated along the line, we're back to any other agency for all other types of businesses in the country.
So this takes us back to the portal again. What we intend to do is that, I don't want to say 80-20, but let's just say a great deal of the activity that you would do engaging this bill will be done via technology. Just because it's a technology-driven bill.
Right.
It would be embarrassing to me. I mean, this is what's difficult about doing things like this. My time will be up soon, and I would have to watch some of this from on TV myself. But I would be quite embarrassed if some of this remains on paper. That was part of the, some people have said, it's been said that this bill was pretty fast. We drove the process from a technology method. We hacked what was existing to ensure that we were able to make a lot of time up. And that's primarily because we wanted to implement at least a great deal of it before we moved on and the teams moved on to something else. So it's been critical that a great deal of this bill and accessing the bill will be done over the portal, and it will be based on technology, which we believe will remove those bottlenecks.
Okay, so is social media covered in this bill? Is it?
No, it's not. So the social media is being addressed. Several different avenues are addressed in social media, and social media, interesting enough, has been a conversation since, a few years ago with the potential social media bill. I think when I first, and I don't think I know, when I first took this position, one of the first things I did was to look at social media and government relationship, and we actually put a report out on that. And I think there's other things going on now with API, which is an intelligence organization, which just did an event on social media. And of course, NITA also just released something on social media themselves. But I think when it comes to policy and regulation, I think we tend to believe we don't have any input on it. And I think that's where the fail is. I think if we start to push agendas and push positions on what we believe should be done, we'll be surprised how much influence we have on where things go. What I found myself saying recently is that political will political sentiments actually drives political will. And what I mean by that is that the sentiments we all have out there, once we start to aggregate it, is what drives political will. If you look at like a place like America, you will see that a politician, may be against guns, for instance, and then when he goes and checks his jurisdiction, he finds that he has numbers for guns has gone up. All of a sudden, this guy is a gunsman, and you'll be shocked, right?
Yeah.
That's because political sentiments drive political will, and that's one of the key things I think we as citizens, especially those of us that are young, I guess as of yesterday, I'm slowly moving from that category. But those of us that are young need to understand that all politicians understand that political sentiments drive political will. It's for us to understand it and start using it.
Right. Okay. All right. I think I'm sure other people have startup questions. We'll take that later. But I think we'll go a bit more personal now. Your career, wow, very vast. Obviously, technology, is your core, and we can see the expertise. But you've gone across business strategy. You've built all sorts of businesses and all of that. So, would you say, because I'm a career person, not an entrepreneur yet, so maybe I'll get into that. But would you say that you had a clear vision as to where you were going from the onset, or was it just something that happened along the way? All the things that you have done.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you ask career questions, you look at it retrospectively, and it's almost easy to say that you planned where you were going. Not at all. Yesterday, or actually not yesterday, today I'm reading messages from people who I worked with in maybe 2002, 2003, and every now and then I reflect on it, and I could have sworn that back then I thought this is where I was going to die. I mean, this is the greatest firm in the whole world, pays very well, well respected. I mean, you just have to say to people on the street that I work at Goldman, and everybody's like, "Ooh, you work at Goldman," and the carpets and the doors and everything opens for you. But I left there, right? I was offered a VP position. I quit like basically a week later, and moved back to Nigeria. Why? Because Nigeria was calling me. I would say, that my thoughts on that is that you need to do whatever you're doing at that very moment the very best that you can, and in that you gain the keys, you gain the tools, right? So ultimately, the way I picture is that it's like you're a handyman and you have a belt around your waist, and in that belt are a bunch of skills that are your tools. And if you don't give your best to everything you do at every given time, you lose out on attaining that skill, right? So and then what tends to happen, how you're not a handyman. So you now say to me, I have this new job, they want to pay me too much money. And they say to me, we want you to write an article. I'm going to go, oh, I remember that job I had when that boss wanted me to write articles all the time. I hated it. But guess what I can do now? I can write articles. I have the skill. So what we tend to have is a lot of times we get in situations, we don't like the job, we don't give it our all, or we think we should be doing something else. But while we're there, we're not really giving it our all. So we're not really attaining the skill. We're just wasting away time. And you can really build a career of wasting away time from place to place, not only gaining the skills in the different places, at least one skills. And then you get to sort of, I won't call it the end of the road, but sort of a pinnacle point where your inflection is either you go and get them, big offer, or retire, and you realize that you don't really have the foundation, you don't have the skills over the years. So so I can't say that I planned where I'm at. I would say that my personal strategy has been to always give 100% to whatever I'm doing at that very given moment, paid well, not paid well, and hoping that I get something out of it, which is ultimately the skill. And I've done that, I would say, if I have to speak about myself, at every single career opportunity that I've had, including this current one, right? Where, at the end of the day, what you find is when you're doing the current one, you'll find that all the skills you've had prior have not come to bear the current one.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely something I'm taking away from here. Thank you for that. So, leadership, we have entrepreneurs on this platform, and leadership is one of the key things that we talk about. So, what qualities do you say are lacking among today's leaders? And what advice would you give someone who's going into leadership position for the first time? Yeah.
Yeah. So, this question is very environmental.
Mm.
When you have environment that lacks meritocracy, and adequate measure of success, right? So when I say adequate measure, I explain that this way. You're running a company that has all the resources to make 100 million, but you're making 5 billion, right? And nobody says anything, right? So that creates this environment where it's sort of mediocre because you're not really achieving you're not achieving the real value of the entity that you're running. So we have a lot of that. And some of this is based on skills. So if there's no meritocracy, it makes it very difficult for young people to understand, what true leadership looks like and what true success looks like. It then becomes, just flash, flash and noise. So I would say, it's not that you have to have any particular skills, like as in one to be a leader, as I say, as a leader. I think there are different leaders for different days, and there are different skill sets that would apply to different leadership positions, right? In some leadership positions, you need to step up front and pull the rope yourself, and in others, you need to step behind and support people from behind so they get the work done. So I think, over time, those skills that you built is what makes you a good leader, right? So basically what I described earlier, if you have actually built skill sets over time, when you're put in a leadership position, you would easily excel at it. And then if you learn to be empathetic, have empathy, that would help. So there's it's also about the right hands on the right wheel, right? So sometimes we put the wrong people in the wrong place. So if you're a techie person and you love to configure stuff and do this and do that, don't make that man lead people. Make him lead the engineering. Yeah, make him lead the engineering, right? So some of that comes to you knowing yourself, right? If somebody came to me today and offered me so much money, and wants me to lead a very, very engineering role, I may say no, right? Because it's not my skill set. I'm okay. If somebody wanted to come lead engineering in technology in general, yes, I would say yes, right? Because I have skill sets, I have a broad sense of tech that I can manage any area of technology. They're like maybe 5, 10 questions you ask anybody, and you get to the bottom of the issue, and you can be able to manage that person through it and let that person do their job. That's just experience. But if somebody came to me and said, "Come run some technical role in oil and gas," know yourself. I'm going to say, wow, that's an awesome offer. Look at all those zeros. Woo! Sorry, I can't do it. So it's a bit of that. I don't know if I'm answering your questions. I think
no. I think you've answered it. I think one of the things that we find in this environment is people. I mean, they follow the money. What you're saying is, know yourself. Make sure you apply yourself properly instead of just going with the prestige or the money or all of that. And leadership in this environment.
It's a lifetime of learning. So, and my good friend Aramide will tell you this. So when I released my book, we wrote the book during the last election, and then we started doing all the prep stuff for the book prior to COVID, and then COVID happened, and then myself and my co-author looked at it and go, wait a minute, what are we going to do with this book? And then it occurred to us, everybody's home. Everybody is going to want to read.
Yeah, it's time for people
at this time. Yeah. And that's just an entrepreneurial sense, right? So we released the book. But every single thing we did via marketing, I still get compliments to today. The question that leads to me feeling compliment is, who was the PR agency that launched your book?
Yeah, because I saw some of the interviews they had. Yeah. Those were really amazing. Yeah.
And I looked at them in their face and said, it was us.
Yeah.
Remember, you described me as an IT person, right? So it's a continuous learning. It's never stop learning, right? So anybody who pays attention to my book launch and look at the NSB marketing style, I'll be shocked if you find too much difference. Right?
Right.
So it's a learning from a book launch that has now driven the underpinning of messaging. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. Great. Please let the questions come in so that we can ask from the audience. I think my next question is, about doing business in Africa. Your book is more like coming home, bringing things home with regards to doing business in Nigeria and all of those. What would you say? First of all, what would you comment on the ease of doing business in Africa? What would you say about that? What factors would you advise entrepreneurs looking to expand within the continent to be mindful of? What do we need to look out for? Just general stuff about that.
So we wrote the book using Nigeria as a focus, but the idea was that it was how to do business in Africa, right? Giving you a sense of some of the things that you go through. You're ultimately not alone. There's something about entrepreneurship that drives the entrepreneur to believe that this particular issue is just them. Nobody else can be experiencing it. And it's not true, right? I mean, it could be anything, bad customers to funding issues, to cash flow issues, to FX issues. We all going into it together. So the book was really to give a number of different people in sort of a sense that, look, we're all doing this together. It's great to form community and understand what the issues are. Across Africa, the issues are much the same, right? We've been long segmented since colonial times. That makes it very difficult for me to sell to Tanzania, right? It makes it difficult for me to sell to Mozambique. That was structural, and those are the things we need to break down because we have the largest market, the largest youthful market in the world. And it's critical for us to learn how we're going to access this market. I mean, AFCTA is doing that. Yeah. AFCTA is key to doing that. But how do we expedite that process, right? Some of us still need to get a visa to go to some parts of Africa. Meanwhile, you come with an American passport, you can go almost everywhere in Africa. Those are the issues, right? So, there's a market for our products. There's a market for Ghanaian products in Nigeria. We need to look at ourselves more like the EU, and understanding, the differences between Francophone and Anglophone. And, these are the issues here and there, right? Some Nigerian companies are having issues in Kenya right now, because some see it as unfair advantage or a bit of the N word. But what's key is that we need to understand that it's really Africa versus the world. And we need to structure our market in a way that we're able to benefit our own resources. And when I say resources, I do mean the natural resources and also the people resources.
People, yes, absolutely.
The people resources has been valuable for generations, hundreds of years, right? They took boatloads of people resources, and that shows the value of them, and the value of the resources that were taken to America till this day is adding value to the continent of America. Even the late stage Nigerians who got on planes and went to America are adding values in every single sector of the continent. That just shows our value. So the question of how do we congregate this value to focus on our own continent?
Okay, thank you. I have a question from someone in the audience, and it says there are actually three. So I think I'll start from the third one, which says, if you had to rewind the clock to your time as VP at Goldman Sachs, and someone offers you a juicy role in Nigeria, would you take it considering the current situation of the country?
Would I know what I know now, or?
Well, you probably wouldn't, because you wouldn't have gone through the journey you've been in Nigeria. So just fresh off the boat from
So
from the
then the question is not too different from what happened, is it? So I mean, I had a very juicy job in Goldman, and I was very much interested in love with my own country, and I wanted to move back. And somebody gave me an offer, which was decent, and I took it. Right. Interesting enough, I mean, anybody who's read my book will read in there that I got an offer even better than my decent offer And I turned it down because I moved to Nigeria to start a company, right? They wanted me to manage something for them in West Africa. Knowing myself, I entered that place, I'll be managing Africa very soon. But I didn't do it, right? So it's a case of it's a case of it's a case of hold on a second. My son is asking me something. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's a case of what's your purpose, right? So that gave me my purpose was to come start a business in Nigeria, which I did, which is about 16 years old now, and I'm very much in love with the work we've done and the work we continue to do. But like I said this to somebody recently, this question of purpose, your purpose may change, right? So don't be shocked, right? So a lot of times, yeah. So a lot of times people think of purpose, they're like, oh my God, once I find my purpose, and sometimes people go off and keep looking for their purpose while they're sitting on it, right? It's your purpose for now. So do that now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do that now and do it very well, and then move on to the next one.
But I think maybe the perspective from which this question was also coming is the fact that things are different today from what it was 16 years ago. It did seem like there was some kind of promise when you looked at the environment, but right now, when as just looking at the environment and everything that's happening, it's easy to be discouraged. So I do think that's where that question is coming from.
Okay, I see that, but that's why I was asking if it's with what I know now, right? So a friend of mine said to me, who he actually moved back to the UK, and he said to me, sometimes 3% on year growth is better than the ups and downs of Nigeria, right? So Nigeria, you can grow, boom, wow,
just
I think I'm
shoot
a
up.
billionaire.
Yeah.
And next day, whoa, I think I'm not a billionaire, and and this is the part he said that was actually profound. And he says you cannot outpace systemic decay, right? So the question is, who's going to stop the decay?
Right. It's not for the faint-hearted, though.
Yeah, you have to giggle. I mean, I have options out the wazoo. It's not a question of options. The question is now who's going to stop the decay. Well, at the very least, I want to say I did my bit, right? So, we all at least have to say that, and this goes back to the whole political sentiment drives political will, right? So we need to understand that we all do have a role to play. It's like the Nigerian Startup Bill. The Nigerian Startup Bill has just passed the National Assembly. Fantastic. It can still fail if we don't all engage the bill.
Right.
Yeah, all the beautiful words in there. Some people still want to argue some of the provisions. Don't worry. It makes me giggle again. And once again, internally, I don't want to do it to their face. Is that they don't understand that it's not a one-time thing, right? It's it's longevity. So you engage the bill, right? Yeah, now the bill is being engaged. People in government know that this bill has, when this bill coughs or sneezes, 1 million Nigeria say bless you. No politician will mess with that bill. That's what we don't understand.
Right.
So if you say I don't like provision 3 and 5, so therefore I hate the entire document, which has maybe 30 provisions. Okay, what is your contribution? Right? It's much better to support a document, right? To bring it alive and now show support in every single way and be participatory in the entire process, and then watch the implementation and participate in the implementation process. Let people who we run into politicians all the time. You go to one bear, you meet a politician, let him know that Nigerian startup bill is our own.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Down the road, you'll be able to make amendments. This is just bill 1. Next year, we can make amendments to it. The year after, we can make amendments, and it can only get better. We don't seem to have that sense. We just think, it's now or never.
It's a one-time thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. It's an engagement. You engage your country. Look at, I keep making examples of Americans, but it's sort of the most obvious example because all our news channels. But look how they get so emotional about the issues. Abortion, guns, this, you change the light bulb, you change the number of the light bulb to 5, whole industry will go crazy. And then we don't have the same thing here. How do governance, they tend to say there are 4 parts of governance, but it's actually 5, right? So the media is one, and we have to look at what they do. You have the legislature, you have the courts, and you have the executive, but then you have the citizens that should be part of that process, right? But that's sometimes, if you don't have the citizens, then you cannot look at the executive and look at the legislature and say they're not doing what's in your will. But your sentiments are not known. Your sentiments are not congruent. Your sentiments are not together, right? It's only here you can find people discuss politics as we're going to we're off the internal subject. Let's go back to your next question.
Okay, I think my next question is, it says, what has been your most frustrating moments? And I think it, still speaks to this in a way, as SSA to president, particularly in relations to trying to pass a policy or implement a program. What were some of the things that were, just...
So do you want to hear something very interesting about this? I don't think I've said this in public before. So my boss is a 78-year-old man, right? So for those who don't know, I work for the president, but I report to the chief of staff, right? To the president. And I can tell you that the chief of staff is maybe more excited about the Nigerian startup bill than a lot of startup founders.
Okay.
That's through the process, right? So there were a lot of startup founders that were, but not 100%, right? So when I go discuss the bill with my 78-year-old boss and he's excited, he's standing up, what do you want me to do, right? And then you go out to the market and you get some lukewarm responses, some people asking.
And then they're not so, yeah.
The government, I have to also say this, right? So the government, and when I say the government, I speak to different, silos in the government. We're also very excited. If you look at the feedback from the agency, we had like a MDA event. They're all excited about the possibility of the bill. If you look at the public hearing, if you want to go look at any of the tapes from it, you will see that even the senators were speaking very highly of the bill. The chairman of the committee actually ended his opening statement, actually not the opening statement, his call for comments with, if you don't like this bill, you don't like Nigeria. I mean, so this is what forms. The reason I'm saying this is because I've said something that I wanted to stick. When I say political sentiments drive political will, right? The will to pass this bill was driven because the sentiments was there. They believed that the youth wanted this bill, that this bill, their children wanted this bill.
Benefit from it, yeah.
Exactly. So the political sentiments led to the will. That's,
Okay, but do you think that maybe the reasons why you were getting some lukewarm responses is because people maybe didn't believe in, how, with regards to the implementation and all of that, and first of all, even the passing of the bill, which now we have, we've passed that, but I feel like maybe the people just didn't really believe that it would. Yes, they know it's something that's good for them, but Nigeria now, you start and then after publicizing and making everything out there, we don't trust the system, like someone says.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, so let me tell you something that happens when you join government. Very long time ago, I'm also a citizen of Nigeria, and I also run a business in Nigeria, and I also employ in Nigeria, and I also pay my bills from Nigeria, and I know the issues, right? In fact, the reason why I say yes to stuff from government is because I was always inquisitive. I wanted to know, what is this issue? You understand? What is the thing there that's causing all of this? And I've gotten a very sturdy education in my months there so far. But I'll tell you something that's interesting. I joined government at 9 p.m. 9:35 p.m. I was that other guy.
Because you had seen stuff that's like, okay.
No.
Okay, you went, okay. So let me understand.
I'm saying to how people address me.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's like almost like,
so you're one of them now.
It's almost like you walk outside and you see your minister smoking drugs. It didn't take that long. It's actually a very thin line. So if we do that to people who we know, and have known for a while. I mean, like we were joking before the meeting, just Google. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
then where is the support? We have to have
Mm.
some kind of faith. It's okay to not have trust issues. Even I have trust issues. I have trust issues with the entire system, right? But we almost have to have some faith in something or somebody.
Some just give a little
Yes.
benefit of doubt.
Otherwise, otherwise, let's give up. Let's just, everybody japa. Nobody can japa faster than me. In fact, I'm structured to japa. You understand? Let's be japaring if we want to japa. I'm speaking to you from
Mm.
Thailand right now.
Mm.
I didn't travel with a Nigerian passport. So if you want to do japa competition,
So
I will
you're
win.
already halfway there.
In fact, I will win. You can't japa faster than me, right?
Mm.
It's not possible, right?
Mm.
So if you read my book, you find I was born in England. I live in America. So it's not possible to japa faster than me. But that's not the point. And I'm taking that in this back. I'm taking that government role. I'm saying that we have to at least believe in something,
Right.
right? It cannot be that we are all to an individualistic position where we now believe that, oh no, it's not possible. One of the key things behind this bill was to indeed show that it's possible, that you can indeed enter government, gather a few private sector people, develop policy, push it onto government, tell government that they will pass this bill, and it will happen within a year. So the next person who enters government, are we going to support them?
Mm.
Are we going to document this process and hand to the next person and say, yeah, when you enter, we don't do NSBO. We want you to now do, what's the other one we want? Nigeria cooking bill. I beg you will do Nigeria cooking bill for us. The other person want to do Nigeria hair bill. Please, you will do Nigeria hair bill. The creative impact bill, we don't start time, but now you go end down.
Yeah.
If we don't have that, right, we're never going to get anywhere. And
Right.
we'll all just be japaring.
All right. Okay. All right. So, I mean, on a lighter note, I mean, I'd like to wrap up because I know that we took you out from dinner. Thank you so much for joining. On a lighter note, I mean, you seem to have lots and lots of interest, from farming to arts and writing, and you're passionate about the youth. So, I mean, what would you say drives those interests? How do you split your time in between all of that? You know, um, and these hobbies that you've developed over time and all of that.
So time is not unlimited. So you have to do the bit you can when you can. A lot of times, your time is actually a currency which you invest into things that you have passion for. Some things suffer along the way because you just can't do it all. So the things that interest me, I do my best to invest my time in them. Some things go from being, a singular passion to creating a structure around it so other people can share in that passion. And sometimes I find that's an easier way to drive things you believe in, right? So, some things that I've done are now they've already moved on to a fourth year of leadership where I'm now a guest to it, but I started it, right? Other people are now running it, and it's still doing what it was supposed to do. And we've been, and I believe that's what this platform is as well, right? So this is somebody's passion, and they're now expanding to other like-minded people, and everybody's benefited from it. That's why it was important that I was here today, because I understand exactly what this is. So I do that across a number of things, socioeconomic politics, arts and culture. And I drive it that way now through orgs that help me drive things that I enjoy.
Okay, thank you. If we wanted to get your book, how can we get it?
So I'll go back to the original joke. Google? No. So I mean, ultimately, the book is everywhere, and I don't say that because like I said, you had two entrepreneurs, literally bored because of COVID. We probably cracked the whip on distribution, so we're everywhere. We're in Amazon, we're Barnes and Nobles, we are in Roving Heights, in Nigeria. The website, inpursuitafrica.com or theinpursuitbook.com. You will find that all the links to the different places you can find the book globally, the different e platforms that you can find the book on. So we're pretty much everywhere you get the book. Having said that, we this is another thing I want to make time for. We want to push more into Africa. My current dream is that I want to run into the book in the airport. So those are the things I'm trying to drive, so we can truly be everywhere. But for now, Amazon, Roving Heights, locally in Nigeria, a few bookstores in Nigeria. But if you go to the website, you will see a link that shows you the different places you can get the book globally.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely be looking out for it. I'll get it. I'll read it. Thank you so much for your time. Over to you, Yemi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tolulope. Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Thank you so much for a very interesting conversation. We appreciate the insight on the Nigeria Startup Bill. Thank you again, and congratulations on the passage of the bill. And we are wishing for a successful implementation. Thank you, everyone who has joined, and we hope you have enjoyed the session. We'll be following up with you as well with a link on how to get the book. Someone has dropped the link in the chat for how to get it on Amazon. Thank you, everyone. We'd like to wrap up the session now. Thank you for your time. We will not hold you back any further from dinner. Eat for all of us. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.